This video is sponsored by Noregon, the commercial vehicle data experts. Visit Noregon.com to learn more.
Welcome back to On the Road. When fleets go to spec a new truck, there are a lot of concerns that need to come up. Some of the biggest ones: what application am I going to be using it in? What class of truck do I need? And what fuel is it going to run on? Traditionally, you may default to diesel, but now CNG is a real viable option. But some may still be concerned about things like infrastructure. Well, Freedom CNG, the company we're speaking with today, believes in this technology and believes they have a way to help. I want to welcome Nick Kurtenbach, the president and CFO of Freedom CNG, to On the Road. Nick, how are things going for you today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Kevin. Excited to be on the road with you today.
Oh, thanks. I'm excited to have you here. All right, so let's just jump into these questions. What are the most common misconceptions you hear from fleets who are switching to CNG or RNG? And how do you respond to address their fears?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that a lot of the misconception is often around the engine itself, the horsepower, the capability around historical technology has been limiting, but I think with Cummins' new X15 engine, a lot of those barriers and limitations have been cast aside, or at least significantly challenged, to where the X15 can be a solution in 99% of the operating environments. So we're happy to see technology move forward there. The other area we often see is the total cost of ownership, and that's not lost on us. And so our business model is flexible by design to help fleets with total cost of ownership and really address a number of things through fuel. With the CNG trucks in particular, there's a specialty tank package that's an upgrade at the beginning, and then oftentimes there is a potentially a shorter term with a reduced residual value that goes into people's models. That's largely based on past economics, and we think those economics are changing to make that math equation easier. But what we like to do is work with our customers through that math equation and find the pressure points and see if we can help them not only with fuel, but some of those other variables to really lower that total cost of ownership. So for us in the marketplace, we're having a lot of dialogue, good dialogue, where we learn customers' pressure points, and we know on the back end some ways to help solve those. And one of those is through mobile fueling, which is, I think, a pretty significant development in the market that we're bringing in.
So with improved performance from technology and improved TCO from just having more of it around and getting, as more people, economies of scale, as more people use it, it becomes more viable for others. Does that still limit this to certain fleet applications and operations, like regional, return to base, or vocational? Or are there more use cases that make sense for CNG adoption today?
There are more use cases. I think there's an infrastructure question that's been for cross-country, heavy-duty, Class 8 truck routes. That, I think, will get better over time. The best model for CNG historically, and I think just given the routing of a return-to-base fleet where you come back to the same home every night, is good for many fleets, whether it's diesel, CNG, or EV. But those fleets that return to base are great candidates for CNG. I think the X15 is going to bring forward the ability to move cross-country fleets, but the infrastructure has to be there, and that's what our role is, as well as to provide that infrastructure. Today, there's 1,400 CNG filling stations across the country, half of which are private, half of which are public. And that number is going to have to move up and become more dynamic to support the cross-country application and just general growth in CNG. And so for us, We think the market can be dynamic, and CNG applications can be across many industries.
Freedom CNG has made some recent acquisitions, combining with Comtech Energy, X3CNG, and Lancer Energy under the Freedom umbrella. So what gaps in infrastructure or service are you now better positioned to address for fleets that are considering moving to natural gas?
Yeah, I think we started the show with that and mobile fueling. So historically, as a CNG fleet, there are shades of gray to this, but you had two options. You could have your own private compression station behind the fence, we call it, or you could go to a public retail station similar to a diesel convenience store. And there were limitations with both of those, whether it was distance driven to a retail store, or maybe at your private site, you had limitations on filling times, or you were congested because of real estate. Mobile can unlock a lot of value for the fleets in that we can come to you. It saves you time. It may save you on other variables such as real estate, drive time between stations, and CapEx. The mobile option that we provide is a very efficient from a capital standpoint. So you don't have that upfront CapEx you do with a private station, and it's convenient. And we can provide the same fast fill times that you would typically see at a retail or private station. So again, going back to that total cost of ownership and how do we make it easier for fleets to own CNG, we feel like by providing mobile, that is a big opportunity for the fleets to advance and increase CNG in their trucking fleet. The other side of that coin is better infrastructure across the country, like I was saying before, for long haul routes. There are a lot of dots on the map, and there are a lot of great CNG stations out there. There are some that are aged. There are some routes that need more infrastructure to support heavy transport in that corridor. And so we're looking at those as well. So the way we're attacking the world is really through what we call a hub and spoke model. And the mobile is the spoke, and the hub is the fixed station, whether it be retail or private, and really maximize the fuel density in corridors that have a lot of traffic, so fleets have options.
Yeah, that's good. It certainly helps address infrastructure needs in areas that, you know, a fleet might be ready to adopt it, but the locality is skeptical for whatever reason, or they don't have the resources to do it. If you can bring it to them, that removes that from the equation, at least for the time being. Speaking of the time being, Cummins X15N generating a lot of interest and confidence in modern CNG trucking right now. How do you see it changing the way fleets consider natural gas, TCO, and performance over the next 5 to 10 years? What's the landscape going to look like?
I think fleets have a real decision to make now. I think historically there were limitations, and the math or operationally it worked out to lean towards diesel. I think the X15 is transformational. We respect and have a great relationship with Cummins, what they've done. It is a game changer, and it gives fleets an option that is competitive to diesel, both operationally and from a cost standpoint. It may not be for everybody, just depending on your fleet's needs, but I think for a lot of fleets out there, like we talked about, who return to base, who are in dense markets and cross country, you brought up economies of scale before. CNG programs can become very, very competitive when you get over that threshold of 20 or 40 or 50 trucks. The math gets easier. And I think the X15 has given fleets a great option to adopt CNG.
Yeah. Another good, compelling option here is RNG. It's carbon negative, so anyone looking for sustainability, it's a very good option for that. But how scalable is the supply that we have currently to meet demand?
Yeah, it's a good question, Kevin. It's more scalable than people think. So today, I've got some rough figures on it. So today we produce about 0.6 BCF a day of RNG. That is, to put that in perspective, we produce over 100 BCF of traditional natural gas. On the consumption side, that works out to about 2 billion gallons of RNG converted to diesel gallons a year. Last year, we used just short of 1 billion gallons of CNG, and almost 85 or 90% of that is RNG. When you look at the fleet that's on the road today, over the road highway CNG vehicles, it's about 30,000, give or take. The total CNG fleet, which would include buses and refuse trucks, refuse trucks are also great for CNG. It's about 55,000 vehicles. Compare that to diesel. In the U.S., there's over 4 million diesel trucks out there. So these are smaller numbers, far smaller numbers than diesel. But if you were to extrapolate the fuel that's available today for RNG, it could support 200,000 trucks. So a 4 or 5 times increase from the volume that we have today. So it's there today. It's available today. The X15 is available today. You can do this today, which I think is the message that I would send to our friends in the fleet world, which is we're fans of all the above. Electric, hydrogen are great technologies, but if you want to take action today for environmental, for carbon reduction purposes, or just for that competitive economic advantage that CNG can provide, you can take action on that today. Some of the technologies that I mentioned are lagging a bit. But I think when you look forward and you say, okay, where are we in 20 years? The number of RNG facilities goes up by 5 or 6 times. RNG production by EIA and McKinsey and some of the other folks who forecast these things out there is projected to go from 0.6 BCF to 4 to 5 BCF a day. So now you're at a place where you could support 1 million CNG trucks on the road. And obviously those are estimates. In 20 years, a lot of things can or cannot happen. But if you think about that 4 million truck number, diesel truck on the road, you could see where CNG is now 15, 20, 25% of market share. And I think that's the direction Cummins is forecasting. And I think the refuse trucks, you factor that in, buses, you could get to a place where CNG is really a big part of the fleet conversation.
I think that's an important takeaway here, is that there's always going to be someone who says, well, diesel can do it, or diesel's been doing it. Relatively speaking, these are early days for the CNG trucking market, and it's already proving itself. And you see NACFE, Cummins, companies like yours, they're all backing it, they all believe in it, they all see a future for it. So is there any message you want to leave our viewers with today that I'm not asking about CNG, where it's headed, where it's at? Anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I think what I would say is we're off to a great start. CNG has been around a long time. The technology is proven. RNG is abundant. It's there. If you have an interest in CNG and RNG, it's something you can implement today in relatively short order. Freedom and Freedom CNG and companies like Freedom, we're here to help. We can answer questions. We can help you think about the infrastructure required. But I think sometimes the hardest thing is to make that first call or have that first discussion. And while CNG has been around a long time, I think today is a new era, and it's never been easier and more effective and more efficient to own CNG and use RNG in your fleet today. So I think it's a really compelling opportunity for fleets, and we're here on the other side to help. It's the right fuel for the right fleet. So it may not be in every application, but we can help think through that, and we can build infrastructure and a program around your fleet to support CNG and RNG, because it is fuel that's available today and in the future. I think it's going to be a big part of what we're talking about when we talk 1 and 5 and 10 years from now, Kevin.
All right, Nick, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. We really appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Like Nick said, Freedom CNG is there to help fleets looking to make the switch to natural gas for their fleets, and we're here to help you stay on top of technologies and trucking trends. So if you'd like to get more interviews like this sent straight to you, go ahead and subscribe to the Fleet Equipment newsletter to stay in the loop. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.